before start to watch my scrap. So it's rest better.
I filed a criminal complaint against some public officials here, and they informed me that only prosecutors can file criminal complaints in the state of Colorado. Really? They also said only prosecutors can file interlocutory appeals in the state of Colorado. I'm like, wait a minute, how can the one person who can't have his rights violated be the only guy who can file an interlocutory appeal?
Right.
That makes zero sense to me at all. But that's how they do it here.
Oh, yeah.
I guess it's going to take somebody with half a brain to teach them that doesn't really work that way. So we'll see how it works.
I appreciate it, Kurt, a lot. Great. Kurt, let's see you healing.
And yeah, I'm the only living case in medical history with a bifurcated liver and a 4-centimeter hole in the middle of my chest because the cops picked me up with a billy club. They stuck a billy club up underneath my rib cage and picked me up about 8 or 9 times till I passed out. Caused a 4-centimeter hole between my hepatic and my portal vein. And it kicked me in the liver enough times to fracture it in 2 pieces. And I'm the only case in medical history that was not found by autopsy.
Yeah. Well, anyways, Kurt,
evidently, the big man upstairs keeping me alive for a reason.
Yeah,
not sure what, but yeah, here I am.
I know, exactly. Hey, it's AllDayLive. And you might be watching us at night, but that might be during the daytime that we film it. You see it sometime later on. It doesn't matter because we're archived now at seattlecommunitymedia.com. And we're also at archive.org and now at amazon.studios.com as well, because we're just trying to get our messages to you that you can get back to us if you want to get a message out as well, because we're public access, community access TV here in the Northwest in Seattle, seattlecommunitymedia.com. But since the last 4 years, we've been archived. Wasn't before, but is now. It's very powerful, and your shows go out on the search engines, by the way. And it's like we're being kind of lulled to sleep as a people. I think we need more communication, maybe even this type of public access TV. That might work too. That might make a difference if somebody signs up for the community access scheduled classes here to learn to become one. Nobody has in 6 months. That's another story. But anyway, I can only do what we do. I think TV is really for us to be able to be seen and heard by us, not special interests that broadcast corporate-wise. And by the way, it seems to be that public access TV is being taken over by syndicated religion broadcast. There's maybe 10, 12 local broadcaster TV producers here in Seattle left. What happens when we're gone? What's going to happen to your reach around the world? The gift of being able to broadcast online. That's interesting. And
hallelujah.
And we've got Kurt Riggin. Kurt is a tribal lawyer. He's a federal lawyer, and he's also the chief. And we're honored because I'm going to ask him exactly how. I don't know if I ask you to spell it, but he's going to tell us the name of the tribe here in Washington. But
Kikialis Nation.
Okay, let me go ahead, Kurt.
It's the Kikialis Nation.
Okay, the Kikialis Nation in Washington State. Kurt Riggin's about some odd number 12 years ago went with Lewis Ewing and Kenny Wayne, and he'll tell you. He'll get you up to speed on that. That you guys did what? And it was about our Constitution here in the state of Washington.
I don't think Kenny was there.
I don't know who was there. That's all right. You can tell us about it. And go ahead.
It was Lloyd Lewis, myself, Lloyd Smith, Lewis Ewing, me, and a few other guys. That my memory is not as good as it used to be, but that was back in 2001. And we went to the National Archives, and we went and pulled all the original constitutions for the states here, in the western states mainly, the ones we were interested in at the time. And we were doing research for a couple different tribes as well, including the Blackfoot tribe. I was doing research for them. And found some pretty interesting stuff. We found that there was no constitutions for the states anywhere to be found, anywhere in the National Archives. Really? Yeah. And so we're going, well, what the hell is this? You don't have any constitutions? You're supposed to have a handwritten one here on file. Well, we found that with the we found that written Constitution in a miscellaneous document file box that hadn't been opened since 1901. And it was miscellaneous document number, I believe, number 47, maybe, I don't know. No, miscellaneous document number 55, excuse me. So here in the miscellaneous document box, it hadn't been opened since 1901, so 100 years. I was the first guy to open that box in 100 years. Well, I ordered it up. Well, it's pretty interesting, actually. The story's even more interesting. We get to the front steps of the National Archives, and we flew all the way from Seattle, Washington, which is damn near as far as you can get and still be in the continental United States. We get to the front steps, and they said, sorry, we can't let you in unless you have your National Archives card. I said, great, where do we get those? He goes, on the second floor.
Hi, Ron. Hey, Kurt. Yeah.
Okay, well, how do we get that? He goes, it's not my problem.
Well, we're just doing the best that we can, just about whatever we bring into whatever we have to. So we're bringing this whole thing to the people to think about mind control weapons being used experimentally on American people. And Kurt, with you being a federal attorney, how would a federal attorney look at electronic weaponry being used experimentally on American people? Hundreds of millions of American people. What's our thoughts on that? Anybody thought about that? By the way, now it's time to think about it.
Tax dollars at work, man.
Right.
You know, there's some scary experimental stuff going on, and unfortunately, we gave them permission to do it.
Well, so far, we think we've given permission to do that, right? Derek, can you hear it? Okay, he can only hear through me.
I think it's gone from the experimental to the actual weaponry itself.
Yeah, check out Worthington. Check out the Supreme Court case out of Washington last month called John Worthington versus Westnet. And the Supreme Court ruled in favor of Mr. Worthington after he was raided, and he's a medical marijuana patient. The Navy flew a helicopter with a FLIR over his house and spotted his 4 growing lights. And the Westnet Drug Task Force and Kitsap County Sheriff's Office and NCIS raided his house. You guys ever heard of NCIS?
Yes.
Not just a TV show.
Naval Criminal Crime Scene Investigation Service.
Yep. Now, what the hell were they doing in a medical marijuana patient's house who's never been in the Navy? Yeah, that's a violation of what's called the Posse Comitatus Act, which says they can't use the military to raid civilian houses. They can't use the military to enforce civilian law, except during a state of emergency, like a flood or a fire or some kind of natural disaster, hurricane. Then, and only then, if the, governor declares it to be a, disaster area, then they can use military. But only then. Like they did in Katrina. They had military guys going and taking people's guns away from them. It's a state of emergency. The question that why in the hell do we have Navy personnel raiding a medical marijuana patient, with 14 plants?
We can't have the noise.
Well, that's kind of like asking why is CIA operating in the United States?
Well, it's not the CIA. That's where you're mistaken. The CIA doesn't operate in the United States.
Well,
It's
isn't
the
this?
NRA. The CIA anymore. If you look it up, the Denver Post ran a story a few years back that now, can you hear me?
Yeah, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, we had.
No, he was talking to Derek.
Okay, we're back.
Fixing the issue.
So yeah, in the Denver Post, they ran a story about how the CIA is now known as the NRA, the National Resource Agency, and they have an office here in Denver. How many people knew that?
I didn't know about that, but I did know about the NRO, which is the National Reconnaissance Office. As far as you're concerned, is that at the top of the intelligence apex, or is that just another one of those alphabet agencies?
It's probably just another alphabet agency. But yeah, the NRA, National Resource Agency, not the National Rifle Association. Don't get confused, because they'd like you to be confused. They have an office in Denver, and I'm trying to figure out, why do we have a agency of the CIA, known as the NRA, in the middle of the United States when their job is foreign intelligence? Well, that's because they declared a war on terror. You know, and under RCW 1.69.090, which I think is about the Civil Liberties Remembrance Day. I think it was in 1942 or 1943. Basically, they had Executive Order 90660, I believe is what it was. And it said that the military now has jurisdiction over all civilian law and lives.
Oh, Jesus.
And as long as there's a declared war, that executive order is enacted. Okay? Well, they declared a war on drugs. Remember that?
Yep.
And then what was the other war? Well, then they declared a war on terror. So instead of declaring war on actual countries, which is required, they said, well, gee, we don't really have to declare war on a country. We'll just declare war on a concept.
Yep.
Drugs, terror. And next it'll be citizens.
Online
Or
piracy.
patriots. Actually, Lewis Ewing found in the judge's manual in Washington State, where it says right in the judge's manual that they are not to return the children of people who are considered patriots.
I just had Travelers Insurance state that I have been declined my, whoops, I just lost my microphone.
Who's that talking? I can't hear.
I'll give you this document, hold on.
Anyway.
Liberty Insurance just declined my claim of $12,000 worth of electronic equipment being destroyed by microwave technology, weaponry, etc., vandalism, COINTELPRO, etc., because of an act of war being declared on Ron Gillman by the United States government.
Who's that talking?
My name's Ron Gillman. I have a group in Seattle. I've been
Are you there?
I've been in the Mind Control Super Soldier Summit 2 years running now, on stage with Derek Robinson.
Are you listening to this?
I had $12,000 worth of merchandise, video equipment, VCRs, TVs, cameras, SD cards, all wiped out, broken, etc. And I claimed it because I had renter's insurance. They declined my claim because they stated it is an act of war on Ron Gillman by the United States government. And that shouldn't scare you
No,
more
that's where
than...
you're wrong, Ron. That's where you're wrong.
Oh, I got the piece of paper there.
It is an act of terrorism, my friend.
Well, it says an act of war on the paperwork they sent me. I had it FedEx because
Yeah,
the
well,
post...
it's terrorism.
Well, yeah, they're definitely terrorizing me. You and I both know that, with voice to skull all day, threatening, asking what child you want dead first in your head.
It fits the definition under their act on the war on terror. It fits their definition to the letter. And you can actually charge them based on that. Say, well, here's your own law under the USA Patriot Act.
Well, the only problem with that is that I'm finding...
You can't do this, and you can't do that, and if you do, you're a terrorist.
The only problem I find is finding a lawyer that doesn't get approached and get threatened with his life or his children's lives,
I can't understand a word you're saying.
And we don't, none of us are going to fall for this threat of, imminent demise, because we're all dead anyway with this persecution. We're all under being terrorized day in, day out. And when Geico stated that they would not give me my $12,000 to on my claim of damaged circuitry on every item in my house. I have 60 SD cards that are blank. 4 years of.
Oh, so they hit you with a EP, huh?
Oh yeah, I've been hit with so much stuff. Anyway,
Do you have a Faraday cage in your house?
I'm sorry.
Do you have a Faraday cage?
I've actually found another device that I'm working on right now. I am the person that found out about the degausser and the magnet that takes the targets away from your body. But I'm working on something else that I think is better than a Faraday cage. But regardless, the better than what I'm seeing is my friend, after being raped for 10 hours in the back of a van by none other than Snohomish County Sheriff's or the Linwood Police Department. And after being told not to take a report from the house I was living in Snohomish County because it was Ron Gillman by the sergeant at that time, I think his name was Bridget. And then having my hip busted after it was fractured 2 weeks earlier, this cop waltzes in after they put me to sleep at La Quinta Breakfast Bar. This cop comes waltzing in with two other cops witnessing, laughing on the countertop while this cop is busting my hip. Apparently, I'm lucky that I didn't bleed out and or have that bone go through my leg, because it would not have been able to be stopped. And this cop knew exactly what they were doing. They forced me to limp out of that place. I went down to the Mill Creek, Snohomish County Sheriff's Department, and to get my $100 bill back that I gave a cop to give to my girlfriend. And next thing I know, I'm in the ambulance being brought to Providence. Providence said, you need surgery now to save your hip so you can walk again. So yeah, I've been more than terrorized. I've been actually, victimized.
Well, you heard what they did to me, didn't you?
What, sir?
Swear what he did to him.
The Snohomish County Sheriff broke into my house with a warrant signed by a guy who claimed to be a district court judge, but his name was James White. He was a municipal court judge from Edmonds. He signed the warrant as a district court judge. With that warrant, they broke into my house. They, when they went through the door, they 3 or 4 of them, I'm not too sure, pinned me up against my safe, where they broke several ribs in my back.
Oh.
They then dropped me to the floor and shackled me up, and they did knee drops on my back.
Jeez.
And broke all my ribs connected to my spine. They stood on my ankles, my knees, and my elbows. We're talking a 200-pound guy standing on your, and bouncing up and down with his boots on your ankles, your knees, and your elbows. They took me outside, got me up against a fence, and they stuck a billy club up underneath my rib cage. And they picked me up off the ground about 8 or 9 times until I passed out, causing a 4-centimeter hole between my hepatic and my portal vein. I'm the only case in medical history that wasn't found by autopsy.
Holy shit. That's how they raped my girlfriend. They raped her with billy clubs.
They also kicked me in the liver and fractured my liver in 2 pieces. Okay. When they stuck the handcuffs on me, they put them on as tight as they could get them. Then they backed me up to an SUV and smacked each of my handcuffs they smacked with a mag light and caused crush fractures in both of my wrists.
You know, how long are they going to get away with this? They raped my girlfriend at Billy Clubs for 10 hours in the back of a van, spit on her, used her as an ashtray,
Does she have any names?
no, they all wore masks. They said they were SWAT, so.
Trust me, she recognized their voices after 10 hours.
Yeah, right.
She would spot their voices blindfolded.
Yeah, she's scared stiff.
Yeah, I understand that, but, you know, she needs to go to the FBI.
Actually, I went down to the FBI because I have a material that used to surround our bed that shows the stud pattern through the walls of the head of our bed, and you can see where directed energy weapons were used on us. And this material is very, very compelling once you see it. I went to the FBI with this material because after the rape of my girlfriend, this is before
What do you mean? What is the material? What are you talking about?
It's actually a material that you use for matting for underneath wood flooring, the pergola floor. It's a
Right.
pad with a reflective material on the outside. Well, the reflective material melted, and all you see is the pad, but you see the stud patterns of the wall.
Holy shit.
Yeah, no, I got some good stuff, and I have material that showed, well, the 60 blank SD cards showed my neighbors